I think one of the great things about a university is it brings so many things together. It brings great academics, great research, great education, and this conference is a great example of all those things coming together. We've got great research being presented, we've got students doing presentations on their research, we've got students learning about their wellness, and we're taking on a subject that's really important to society right now, which is mental health, wellness, well-being, and what that means specifically for an athlete.
I think just holding this symposium is so important because having a whole 2-day focus on the student-athlete wellness is so important because everything starts with having an open conversation. Student-athlete wellness is very important, and specifically mental health. And the more that we can get people to become advocates of it, the more we could do good change in this area.
And my hopes for the athletes that are here are number one, awareness, to raise their awareness that, you know, this is a normal thing we all deal with, and that when you recognize the symptoms, you can better deal with them. And you can help your teammates, but recognizing it in your whole community, man, that's a powerful thing. When we can do that for each other, we all improve.
As a current student athlete, I feel that it's really good to get the information out there because a lot of students, they do know these things are available, but they just don't necessarily seek them or don't necessarily know where to seek them. So I think it's really good for people to either come out to this event right here or hear from their SAC reps about everything that we have to offer and all the new research that's coming out.
I think the mental health discussion is, one that's on the front lines and needs to be on the front lines. I think really when I talk about mental health and mental well-being and mental illness, it's really all around these concepts of building awareness of what is discomfort. We have no problem discussing discomfort when it comes to a physical injury, but when it's a mental injury and something you can't see, we have difficulty discussing that discomfort and then having awareness around it. And without being able to have awareness and language around what we're talking about, we're not going to be able to break down any barriers, whether that be stigma or roads to treatment. And so I think the discussion around mental health and mental well-being is really important to being able to help individuals across the board, not just in athletics, but beyond.
The most important thing was the ability to help student athletes at TU from around the conference. This is a disease, it is treatable, and that you can have a better life, and that it takes strength to admit that you need help.
As an athlete, there's so many struggles balancing work, school life, athletic life. I myself have gone through my own personal mental health struggles, and being able to rely on the resources that my school has because the conference really pushes this Powerful Minds initiative is something that's really supported me and helped me grow as an athlete and be successful as an athlete.
I think back on moments when I was a student athlete and having mentors and having people that I could reach out to get a perspective of life after being a student athlete. I think that the transition can be kind of tough, and so just for my experience of finishing and graduating and moving on, and it's really, I feel like it's really rewarding to be able to reach out and affect other people.
Well, as a former student athlete myself, I think it's very important to what I call bridge the gap between the generation. I think that the older generation will be able to provide some guidance, some mentorship, and some advice that I think will be very important. But then again, the older generation can also learn a lot from the newer people in the room.
So there's the student athlete is competing with many different obligations. The obligation to perform well, the obligation to be a great teammate, but also the obligation to be a great student at the same time. It's difficult for all those things to be managed well, and sometimes that can bleed over into a mental illness at a time when a student athlete doesn't really want to divulge that maybe they're struggling with it because that might affect playing time. And this is, again, unmasking that mental illness is a disease. There's a science to it, but it's very treatable as well.
I'm leaving invigorated to go back and to continue the good work that the NCAA needs to do to support student athlete well-being. But for all the participants here, I think the same thing. You should feel energized and motivated as I do to continue that good work. And like I said, I hope this continues and turns into an annual event because that is the best way we're going to support student athletes.